Hello, St. Mary's. So we have a couple things to go over. First and foremost, we're over here because it appears that Norm is out of his brumation. And this is good news for the congregation. So I wanted you to know Norm is back. He's hanging out. He's eating his worms and his blueberries. He's ready to receive visitors. We're all very excited about that. Something we're not very excited about, number two, is we learned that your pastor should not be picking sports games for you. So I don't bet. But my picks yesterday were no good between the Ravens and the Lions. So I'm feeling a little disappointed today, as are many of you. And just let me get this off my chest. I just do not know how, if you have one of the best running offenses in the league, in the Ravens, and you're playing against one of the worst run defenses in the league, i.e. the Chiefs, why you don't run the ball more. So I'm frustrated, but I'm coming to terms with it. The Orioles start very, very soon. I'm very excited about that. So those are the two things I wanted to get off my chest before we get into our topic for today. And I left a little bit of material on the cutting room floor yesterday in the sermon, so I kind of wanted to come back to that idea a little bit. And most of it is around what we were reading out of the gospel reading in Matthew chapter 6. I just wanted to read this to you again, verses 22 and 23. The eye is the lamp of the body. So if your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. Pretty simple. Jesus teaches us in the Sermon on the Mount, the eye is the lamp of the body. And so if you want to know something about someone, if you want to know something about yourself, follow the eyes. What we look at is what we are filled with. Say it again. What we look at is what we are filled with. That is, what we look at is who we are on the inside. Where we train our attention and focus is where our character will be. And to connect it to what we were talking about yesterday, where we train our attention and focus is where our love will be. We look at what we love. And then by extension, where our attention is, there will our action be. And so I want to encourage you to be thinking about, where's your attention? What do you look at? For instance, what do you watch? Who do you follow? What do you read? What's your browsing history? One of the things that makes me laugh as I think about this is I see guys on Twitter every once in a while, pastors who will be like, don't go on TikTok, don't go on Instagram because it's just full of terrible images. I won't say more. And I'm just like, bro, these things are run by algorithms. They're only giving you back what you click on repeatedly. And it makes me laugh, even as it makes me cringe. What do you look at? Is it leading us towards compassion, empathy, faithfulness, conviction, or away from those things? What we look at becomes who we are. And let me be clear, just because something says God on it doesn't mean it's faithful to the actual gospel. So spare me some of that. But those things we look at become the light in our body, or they become the darkness. And Jesus doesn't allow us any room. We can't say, I'm a good person, I love Jesus, I'm a committed Christian, but then participate and look at these unhealthy things. So I want to encourage you to think about that. What is it that you train your eyes on repeatedly? That will be who you are. This also leaves room, though, for us to consider ways that we train our eyes, to train our attention. And that's where spiritual practices become so important. Jesus never really demands spiritual practices, but he does ask us to be a certain kind of person, and that requires training, it requires development, it requires discipline. All right, we can't one day be one kind of person and the next day be a completely different kind of person. So I want to give you two ways to practice training your eyes, training your heart, and training your attention on things that will fill you with light rather than darkness. And the first, and if you're not tired of me saying this, you will be eventually. But the first, it always comes back to liturgical prayer. Because liturgical prayer is not telling God what you need or want. Liturgical prayer is being formed in the ways of Jesus. Liturgical prayer brings us back to Christ and to ourselves. It keeps us focused on what God is up to and what God is calling us to be. And so as we fix our eyes on Christ, day by day by day in prayer, our heart for God will grow and our love for Christ will grow. I'm pretty sure, I'm convinced there's no way for our love of Christ to grow if we are not people of prayer. And the second way is service. We cannot love the poor, the oppressed, the marginalized if we don't know them, if we never actually see them. Proximity matters. And I'm not talking about what you see on a television screen or on your social media feed. No, that doesn't count. We cannot care about the people Jesus cares about unless we're actually with the people that Jesus cares about. And when we are with them, our eyes get trained and we are filled with light. Our eyes get trained on their stories, their experiences, their reality. And as we hear that, as we see that, as it gets into us, this light in us begins to grow. And what do you know? Our love for people begins to grow. And when our love for people grows, then our actions will grow as well. We are what we love, and we love what we do. And so if we're serious about taking care of the poor and marginalized, we must be with them. Not at an arm's length, not just mailing a check. We got to find ways to be up close to them, because when we are, our love will grow. So friends, I invite you to sort of do a self-inventory. How are you praying? And how are you being around others? And in those two things, I pray that you find yourself a little more filled with light and challenging yourself to be filled with even more light, because that darkness is real, y'all. We don't have to look far to find the ways that we can be filled with darkness, but Christ is calling us to be filled with light. And we are filled with light as we take care of the things that we look at. So I challenge you into that. Raise your questions in the chat. Please share the video, share it out. Other folks that you may know may need this message too. So share it out. And then if you want to start this, leave me your predictions for the Super Bowl, or your lack of predictions because you've decided that since the Ravens lost, you just don't care, which is kind of where I'm at. But nevertheless, leave me your comments, questions, suggestions, and please share. Until next time, peace and good, y'all.